We open on Jess, a stressed blonde mom comforting her son Tommy over a bad dream while cleaning up a capsized toy yacht. Foreshadowing level, maximum. Jess is scrubbing blue paint off the floor, experiencing peak suburban anxiety before hastily packing a bag. She drives past a charming Sunshine of the State sign and arrives at a yacht named Triangle, meeting Greg and his totally prepared sailing crew. Sally brings her friend Heather as a blatant setup for Greg, which is the human equivalent of a participation trophy and highly awkward. Jess hugs Greg and apologizes for being utterly exhausted, radiating massive red flags for a fun party cruise. Jess takes a nap and dreams of washing up on a beach with bedraggled hair. In cinematic terms, this means, you should have stayed home. She wakes up startled, and Heather comes down to check on her while Downey works on his tan like he's on a luxury resort ad. Victor questions Jess's mental Wi-Fi connection, telling Greg she completely zoned out for 20 seconds when asked about her son. Greg lets Jess steer the boat, totally ignoring her blatant exhaustion and concerning thousand-yard stare. Heather complains about Greg and Jess's friendship, proving she is definitely not winning any popularity contests on this trip. Victor hoists the sails and reveals he's basically a runaway living on Greg's boat. Greg complains about his friends constantly bringing eligible singles for him, pointing out that Jess actually looks uneasy. Jess feels guilty about leaving Tommy, who is autistic and likes his routine, while Greg tells her she's just a good mother who needs a break. The wind suddenly drops to absolute zero, and a menacing ink-blot storm cloud rolls in to crash the party. The crew realizes they are doomed as the sky goes dark and the daylight gets permanently canceled. Greg frantically tries to radio the Coast Guard before the storm completely smothers the yacht like a wet blanket. Panic stations, the yacht gets battered by monsoon-level waves, Victor cuts the sails, and cabins fill up with water. The ocean flips the yacht like a bathtub toy, sending everyone into the drink and permanently sweeping Heather away to the lobby. The survivors wait on the overturned hull, looking like damp, miserable sea rats until Jess notices a rumbling sound. Out of the blinding haze, a massive ocean liner named the Aeolus appears, not suspicious at all. They board the totally deserted cruise ship, and Jess immediately catches bad vibes. They wander into the dimly lit corridors to find the captain, leaving their wrecked yacht caught in the wake like driftwood. As they navigate identical gloomy hallways, Jess claims she recognizes the place, which is the exact moment they should have turned around. They learn the ship is named after the father of Sisyphus, the guy cursed to roll a rock up a mountain forever. I love subtle metaphors. Victor miraculously finds Jess's house keys on this ghost ship, proving the universe has a terrible sense of humor. They find a dining room full of fresh food because abandoned ghost vessels always offer a complimentary welcome buffet. Jess spots someone in the shadows, and Victor dashes off into the dark alone like an absolute genius. Jess keeps complaining about her deja vu, deeply annoying the rest of the group who just want to chill. They wander into a suite with "Go to Theater" written in ketchup red fluid on the mirror. Clearly a 5-star rating, Greg dismisses the creepy mirror art as a prank by bored sailors. Top-tier survival instinct right there. Greg walks off, apologizing to Jess, while Sally casually ignores actual mysterious spots on the floor. Sally finally connects the dots, notices the trail of red liquid, and follows it to the theater. Jess discovers the buffet is now rotten, and Victor suddenly attacks her. She gives him a permanent timeout by poking his head wound in self-defense. Jess runs to the theater and finds Greg leaking profusely. He accuses her of tagging him with language that would definitely get this video demonetized. Sally gets blasted by an unseen sniper, and Jess goes full action hero, sneaking into a kitchen to grab a giant chef's knife. A masked stranger in overalls plays cat and mouse with Jess, ultimately dropping her with the blunt end of a boomstick. Jess fights back, disarms the attacker, and upgrades her inventory by grabbing a fire axe to level up her melee stats. Jess knocks her masked opponent right over the handrail into the ocean. Boss battle won! Or so she thinks. Jess hears a gramophone, spaces out in front of a mirror, and looks out to see her own friends on the overturned yacht again. Welcome to loop number 2. The record skips, and Jess runs around watching her past self repeat the exact same conversations like a broken NPC. She overhears the Sisyphus story again and accidentally drops her keys, alerting her past self. Smooth move. Jess creeps into a bathroom, hiding as she realizes she is the ghost haunting the ship. She races to the deck, sees seagulls enjoying an expired guest buffet, and drops her jaw in horror. Jess bumps into Victor and tries to explain the time loop, sounding completely unhinged. Victor refuses to believe there are two Jesses on board, or that everyone is destined to be sent to the lobby. Jess shoves Victor in frustration, accidentally impaling the back of his head on a wall hook. Whoops! Friendly fire! Jess eavesdrops on her past self, complaining about her autistic son. Jess finds a locker room filled with identical notes saying if they board, kill them all, and realizes she is the one writing them. She finds a grate filled with dozens of her own dropped lockets, proving she's been doing this for a long time. Her current locket drops into the pile, so she arms herself with a boomstick and a sack of ammo. Jess confronts the wounded Victor and tries to change the timeline by holding her double at gunpoint. The two Jesses stare each other down, but the double smartly turns and runs away. Jess tries to tell Sally and Downey they changed the pattern, but the masked villain starts blasting. Downey demands Jess make sense, completely ignoring the reality of the endless loop cruise they are on. Jess leaves Downey and Sally with the equipment, only to find out Victor threw himself overboard. Jess's double approaches Downey looking like a horror movie villain covered in red paint. The unhinged double slashes Downey and stabs Sally, proving she is not playing on the friendly team. Sally frantically crawls away through red-lit corridors, climbing ladders to escape. Jess chases after Sally, who discovers a horrifying pile of her own identical offline models. Jess tries to comfort the fading Sally, insisting it wasn't her who did the stabbing. Jess realizes the boat will only reset if everyone logs off, so she lets Sally pass away peacefully in the Seagull buffet. Realizing the dark truth, Jess decides the only way out is through. She tries to stop the ship's engine by throwing a metal bar at the machinery like a totally rational person. Jess watches the events repeat yet again, seeing Victor get impaled by her newest clone. She drags Downey's body into the bathroom and uses his vital fluids to write "Go" on the mirror. Crafting her own escape room, she tosses Downey overboard and moves Greg's body, meticulously setting the stage for the next loop. Jess puts on the dark overalls and a sack over her head, fully embracing her villain era. Hooded Jess corners Greg in the theater with a loaded barrel. Greg begs for his life, but Jess explains she has to cancel their subscriptions to restart the loop and get back to her son. She tags Greg from the balcony, completing the tragedy checklist. The two Jesses play a high-stakes game of hide-and-seek, ending with hooded Jess getting bashed. They fight on the deck, dodging blasts and hurling weapons in an epic, albeit confusing, mirror match. Her double demands to know who she is, and hooded Jess yells that she has to take them all out to save her son, right before getting knocked overboard. Jess washes up on a sun-baked beach, waking up from her nautical nightmare. She staggers down the road, eventually running all the way back to her quiet suburban neighborhood. She looks through her own window and sees herself yelling at Tommy. The stressed double screams at Tommy for spilling paint, showing she's definitely not winning Mother of the Year. Jess rings the doorbell to distract her double, then grabs a hammer from the shed. Jess gives her abusive double a fatal bonk with the hammer while Tommy watches. Parenting at its finest, she reclaims her locket. Jess stuffs the offline double into a duffel bag, loads it into the trunk, and drives off with Tommy, promising to be nice. A seagull hits her windshield, so she pulls over to toss it. She throws it onto a massive pile of expired seagulls, proving this beach scene is also part of the loop. Distracted, she crashes into a truck. The crash sends Tommy to the lobby, and the trunk pops open to reveal the expired Jess. Our Jess watches the aftermath from the sidelines, completely broken. A skeletal cab driver, who is definitely not death in disguise, offers her a ride to the harbor. She accepts the ride, tells Victor she dropped her son at school, and steps right back into the very first scene. She boards the yacht, apologizing to Greg, completely resetting the nightmare all over again. A seagull flies into the hazy sky, and we finally fade to black.